Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Hybrid Trends. Today with some kind of non-really but hybrid topic. And as you can already see on camera, I've brought someone really famous with me. My good old friend Thomas. I know do not need to have any introduction, but maybe for the last person who does not know you, just give us a brief intro. Who you are, what you do, and why are you so famous?
Yeah, I don't know about the famous part to be honest. So, yeah, my name is Thomas Maurer. I'm a senior program manager in Azure Edge and Platform, which is the organization which takes, like, among other many other things, takes care of our Edge and hybrid products. I was a former MVP, and I do a lot of like community stuff in terms of blogging and creating videos. So that's maybe why people sometimes maybe know my face. Maybe it's maybe because you have seen a picture or a video of me. So yeah, that's what I basically do.
Or even live on stage. So you normally,
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
yeah.
sometimes. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sometimes I'm also. I almost forgot. Like it was a lot about public speaking and doing a lot of like conferences, user groups, and stuff like that. But obviously, since 2020, things slowed down a little bit in terms of like offline events, and it's more on the online event side or online content side for me at the moment. So yeah, great to be here, Flo. Great to be here.
And thank you to have you to just be here with me and discuss the topic. And our topic of today is continuous learning in hybrid cloud. Because so I thought I put you on the channel here because you do a lot of those stuff, learning guides, exam guides, discussing with people what you should learn and also how to bring technology forward. And as we discussed prior to the call, there's now a mix between fast-paced public cloud to a bit of slow and steady evolution in our data centers. And now two worlds collide, let's say this, or we have a war of two worlds colliding with each other, keep a system running and improve,
Mm. Yeah.
continuous improve and grow. So that's why I think continuous learning is important. And how about you? What do you think about those approaches?
Yeah.
I'm wrong. Am I wrong, or
No,
what do you
I
think?
think I think when you brought this topic up, especially in a hybrid world, I think it's a very interesting situation. Obviously, I spoke a lot about cloud computing in general. With this fast pace, we go with cloud computing, this continuous learning of new stuff. You will never be able to know everything at one point and everything. And then in the mix with that, where you working on a traditional, I would say, on-premise environment or edge environment where you still have a lot of traditional software, traditional concepts, traditional processes of doing things. It's actually a pretty interesting topic. And so, yeah, it's I, without going to stretch a little bit too far, but I think it's very interesting. And you can, like, I have a lot of like younger people who ask about career advice. I have like a little bit like more traditional people asking about career advice, like, "Hey, Thomas, I've worked a lot of on-prem. What do I do?" And then still, I think it's a very interesting thing to bring these two together, and you can end up being successful coming from both worlds if you do the right thing, right? So you have obviously this continuous learning mentality where you think, okay, well, I'm gonna figure out how things work all the time. But I don't believe it's so much different from the traditional. Like maybe things in the traditional sense also had a little bit more of like advantage when you had some experience. Like if you knew how, like for example, Active Directory works, for example, or I don't know, like IP, like you're like very good in like doing networking stuff. I mean, all this is also important in the cloud, but still, you had like, hey, I knew this. And there's not so much change coming, and I really have this experience. And then you have this fast-paced cloud world. So I think it's a very interesting topic. As you can see, I'm very fascinated by it.
Yeah, and that's so what I see as a gap here is we have now people joining IT from universities. They all know these new fancy stuff, these new fancy technologies. They know every cloud provider in and out. They know every fancy new development language, but there are no infrastructure engineers. There are no old school technology people coming out of those universities. And we both started with old school IT. So I started with Windows Server NT and 2000 Active Directory file services in a data center, pulling cables everywhere, and then also did a bit of IoT machinery control. So it's those technologies or those experiences give us the opportunity to understand what's beneath our cloud, how HSTech, HCI, and Arc play with the servers, with the IPMI components, to give us this seamless integration. And that's what I think. It's still important to know these basic technologies, know input, output, and how the system reacts, how the network need to know how the network reacts, and from there bring both worlds together. And as you said, it's not the worst, or it's the best case to or is how can I say that? It's a good that we old traditional guys still coming from data sets learn those new stuff to explain it to the new funky people and give them or provide them with our experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's always great. Like what I was thinking about was when I work. I mean, I work a lot with our edge customer, right? People like and on-prem. Like these are customers who basically are using the cloud for maybe a lot of stuff, but they also have these hybrid requirements where they need to run something on premises, and they have the people there. And very often, what I see is they have two or maybe more teams, but like one team is more focused, or one group of people is more focused on the traditional IT stuff and things. And then you have the other group of people, which are mostly like, yeah, you're now doing this cloud stuff. And what I like is when we do these edge and hybrid projects, when these two worlds come together.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, you obviously have some like, hey, okay, well, how do we like figuring out phase, like how does this work together? But we have always done it that way, but the new stuff is like that, and like how does that work?
You always have these communication channel to establish.
Yep.
These willing to learn from the others and not
Yep.
standing at, we did that for 20 years now, we need to keep it, versus yeah, but it's totally unfancy and old school and so on. So
but it's yeah, but like the point, yes, absolutely. So, but the point, like the great thing again, at the beginning you have this thing, right? This
yeah.
like friction where everything needs to like, okay, figuring out things, like not like the technology way as well, obviously, but it's also like the processes and the organization and all that, and like, okay, how does that make the world a better place? How does it make my environment a better place? But then the great thing is when you're actually like going to production with it and everything worked out and all the people are now like, hey, this is actually great. This is now we have these both worlds combined. Everyone learned something, and everyone starts to understand, and you actually provide like this is then really like gets me really excited, right? This is like where the point is like, okay, now we went through all this, and like once I think you have done that, for both teams or for both types of groups of people, they went into the process automatically after doing this exercise once. The on-prem people, like I call this now the on-prem people, like the infrastructure people where we come from, they now are like, okay, well, with the cloud, this actually gets better, and I'm like getting this mode of learning the cloud. And a lot of the cloud people are also going, hey, okay, I understand there is more to just this new stuff. We have a legacy in our company which we need to take care of, and I need to figure that out as well. It's not just like, okay, I need to figure out new services. I need to figure out stuff I haven't probably learned before, but exists for years, if not decades. I need to think about this as well, and like, how can we mix this together? And you create the fun, like it sounds silly because it's still work, but you see, like sometimes like people are getting into a fun mode where, oh, now we can also do this and this. Let's also use that service to make that better, and we can address this and like. So that excites me. That's really a part where when things come together.
And that's really the point. So for as an example for these cloud guys where resources are limitless, more or less, or where the platform optimizes their applications.
Yep.
That's no longer given in a hybrid cloud environment where you have these traditional x68, AMD 64 systems, where you as a developer need to understand, okay, how can I optimize my application to run in an on-premise environment where I just can't say I need to have more cores on demand because there is a limited amount of hardware beneath which needs to be ordered, where you have a purchase process, etc., etc. And for the, as I already said, for the on-premise guys, cloud offers a benefit from, okay, I don't need to sit 24/7 in my data center. I don't need to take care of batching because there is orchestration within the cloud that can provide, that will help me to focus on my job, not being fire guard in my data center any longer, but I have someone who is or there's some kind of logic, some automation I can leverage from the cloud to help me with my data centers, like we do in Azure, for example. I can develop some magic, some AI or something like that that tells me, oh, there's a disk in your system, or there's a network card dying because the system now no longer behaves like the other 200 I have with the same workload, with the same scaling, etc. That's basically what we also do in Azure. It's like our millions of systems are monitored, and there is an AI, a machine learning running, which says, oh, that servers, we're losing a lot of packages on that. Oh, we maybe evacuate the workload and then put that into maintenance and let someone check what's going on with that system.
Yeah, I like the part where you mentioned like the resource constraint, right? They have to be like it's not unlimited like in the cloud. That's actually super interesting because I mean, as you can imagine, as a company, like even if in our own engineering teams, right? Like people are coming from like directly from university, and there's a super smart people. They know their algorithms, they know how to code software, they know how to do program management and all of that. And they're very familiar with the cloud because when you come to Microsoft, I think before even you did like this cloud research, you get some trainings, and you obviously when you join the Azure organization, you obviously also get trained on this. But then what we like see in the Action thing is like, okay, well, now we have to deal with systems. They're not standing in our data centers. They're actually at a customer location. They're sometimes super small and they're limited, right? So think about like systems with 8 gigs of memory or 16 gigs of memory, standing in a branch office, retail store, factory floor, whatever. So if you write an application, it's not just like, okay, well, 8 gigs is not enough anymore. Now I need to have a bigger machine. No, you can't do that. If you have like, let's say if you are a fast food chain or something like that, you cannot just go out and update 8,000 stores quickly like that with new hardware. That's not how it's going to work. And so you need to learn these things. Also, another example I have, what I think also like I'm also not so challenged anymore, but on the networking side, like for me right now, at home, even at home, I want to like brag a little bit. I have a 10 gig connection right now here. So also obviously our offices where our engineering teams sit and everything is like very well equipped with networking gear. Now, in these edge scenarios, you're sometimes ending up in connections where very, very slow, or also like not reliable at all, right? So you need to think about these things as well. So like, how do I now deal with patches, for example? Like I cannot just ship a 1 GB patch easy to every location, right? For example.
Just think of a wind park or a solar park where you're somewhere in the middle of nowhere with maybe 4G, 5G connections. And you now need to update your whole cluster, your whole IoT equipment.
Yep.
And another thing you said with these 8 gig of memory, there's one thing also our product group needs to take in account if we work on a new, let's say, Kubernetes in hybrid. You need to have those master nodes to manage your Kubernetes clusters, your Kubernetes applications. They cannot blow it up to use 64 gig of memory only for the master nodes. They need to dense it down, make it small.
Yep.
To still have enough capacity for everything the workers need.
Yep. And I can assure you right now, there's a lot of work going into that, like making the stack smaller. But again, this is like similar to like our conversation, right? Like going back to like, these are things you just have because we have the experience or we know what to look for. I think we both went maybe through the time where I remember when I had my first lab, I think I had a like server with 16 gigs of memory, where I was running virtual machines on it. And I like, if I look at today, even my laptops and my Surface devices have more than 16 gigs of memory and stuff like that. So it's like funny, like you like today's generation maybe not even touch that.
I'm currently building my next generation of Kepler.
Nice.
And even those two nodes which are in here are 180 gigs of memory. They have 3 NVMEs. They have 5 SSDs. So yes, we didn't have that before.
Yep. And so those are all things you need to like somehow get awareness, right? Like once you learn this and you go and dive into this engineering stuff, then you will know and you work on these things. That's kind of like my point is like when you're coming from the cloud, everything is more or less unlimited, and you don't care if you the easiest problem, like the easiest way to solve a resource problem is just to add more resources at it instead of rewriting the code, right? But again, when you go back to on-prem, that is not the case there. There is like certain limit you have available. And so there's different thinkings you need to be aware of wherever you do stuff. And that's interesting. Like that's why I like these two worlds colliding. And the great part, as I mentioned before, for me, it's really when people start to realize like how good the cloud in combination with our edge locations are and our hybrid environments are, when you can, as you mentioned, when people see, oh, well, this makes my job easier, right? This is like, okay, I have now more time to do other things because I basically outsource certain tasks or automate them or orchestrate them using the cloud, right? And so that is also where I think we get people really excited. And at the end, it comes all down to adding value with the cloud to your on-premises and edge environment. I think that is where we need to think of, right? If I add cloud and it doesn't give you a benefit, you will say, well, why do we do this, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But as soon as you see the benefit, it goes in the right direction.
Correct. And just a fun fact here, do you know how I learned to optimize or to optimize resources? When I started my career 20 years ago, I was in IT for automation. So I've built control centers for wheat miles and so on. And one of my developers who was working on the machine directly on the machineries made all these lights blink on the machines, started engines, stopped engines. They said, okay, I need to have 64 byte to form a control center to control your engines. And he said, no, you can get 8-bit because my SPS only has 8-bit. So, okay, and then you start to think, okay, how can I work with these 8-bit to get all my controls, and what combination of the bits can I use to control engine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and prevent that someone loses his hands. And then and when you understand those things, that's why I say that gave me a good or a good start on understanding what's going on in hardware, servers, because everything is just it's just 0, 1, except for quantum compute, but you know what I mean. And then that's knowledge we lost.
Yep.
Basically. And so now we made interested everyone to learn everything. So we have those funky cloud guys, and we have the on-premise guys. So now they want to know everything. So what do you think? What are good ways to start to learn?
I mean, yeah, I think it's so from a setup perspective. We will go into what resources to use it just a bit, but I think the most important part is when the moment you realize that, like, hey, I gonna figure this out and I'm gonna improve it, I'm gonna implement it, whatever I need to do, right? And then you get in this mode of like, hey, I'm just gonna figure stuff out. That's how it works, right? Like before, we probably had like there was this time, I remember that as well, where we need to ask like someone really who knows this stuff, and this still exists, right? It's like, okay, well, we need to do this, but there was also this of like, oh, I don't know it, I'm not going to touch it, right? Today there's so many things people don't know about, like it's not easy to find an expert on something very, like you need to go and figure it out. And I think that's the like some people call it the know it all, the learn it all mindset, right? Maybe it's also like the figuring it out mindset, right? Where you just like go and say, okay, if I have to, I'm going to learn it and I'm going to figure it out how this works and what I need to do. I think that's the first step you need to go in and understand is like, okay, if something doesn't work the way we want it to be, we're going to figure it how we make it work. Once you have that, you maybe already found some like sources for yourself. One of my side is like when you go to I basically daily, I spend time in documentation, right? So reading on Microsoft Learn when you like Azure specific stuff or Microsoft specific stuff, I think it's the most critical part. Is like, okay, I'm gonna figure out like usually it should be documented. I mean, I'm sure there's like missing pieces, but then like you can always add this feedback request or edit yourself even and do some editing. But the docs always for me is like the go-to place, right? It's like, okay, when I try to figure something out, I go to docs. Now, when I get started with a topic, I might need to have some basic understanding of how it works and how it all comes together. And reading the docs maybe is great when you already know what you want to do and what the product can do or the service can do. But like with Microsoft Learn, we also have these training courses, these learning paths where you go through, where they go through a service or they go through a concept or through a job role or things you need to understand. And they do that in a very nice way of explaining things. And I think that is another great way of doing this. So if someone tells you to, hey, we need to store things in the cloud, right? Yeah. Like there's so many options how you can store things in the cloud. The good thing is like you go to Microsoft Learn, you go and look out for storage, and then you find these different learning paths and you will go out and figure out, okay, that storage works for this, that works for this, that works for this. And then you figure out what works for you. And once you have that knowledge, that's the great part. Next time someone asks you about storing something in the cloud, you know which is the right service. You're still probably going to read the documentation, like how to implement it, how to use it, what are like the changes you had since you last looked at it, but you know what service does what is the concept of it. So Microsoft Learn in general for docs and learning paths, absolutely great. I also love certifications because certifications are not just from like something you can show, which is great. Like, don't get me wrong, it's great to show to your boss, I'm actually now certified on that technology. Also, if you're looking for a new job, it's great to have that. Right now, people are looking for cloud engineers. If you can show your certifications, that definitely gives you a head start. I mean, that doesn't mean you're like the best of the best, right? Because everyone can do the certifications, but it's already like doing it already helps. And so I like the certifications also because they kind of like guide you of what you need to know, right? Because there went a lot of thought into, okay, there is, for example, let's say the Azure Administrator certifications. There goes a lot of thinking into things like what are the fundamentals an Azure administrator needs to know, right? I mean, like obviously there's tons of stuff, but here is the basics, I think. And then that's also how the exam is designed to go through, hey, these are the things you should be aware of, like from monitoring to storage to virtual machines. So that is also a great way of learning. And then my other recommendation from like is the community stuff, right? The things, for example, you and I are doing, you're doing, especially with these hybrid friends YouTube channel, for example. There's a lot of people creating content, videos on YouTube or blogs, and they share those as well. And so that is a lot of like good learning stuff because some people, everyone learns a little bit differently, right? And so it's always, for me, videos are always great to learn about how something works. And then if I need, like, especially on the overview side, right? If I like, hey, how does this come together? I like to watch a video about it. And then if I need to know some details, I probably read documentations or a blog. And so that is great. That's basically what I do to basically use to learn.
And you already said there's one important aspect: community. You learn what I learned most through sharing.
Mhm.
So as you know, we met as MVPs.
Mhm.
So we both are at Microsoft, so we lost that, but we met as MVPs, and there's this community out there. So as we started sharing what we think, what our perspective of knowledge, what we learned, we got engaged with so many other people like Karsten, DJ, Aiden, with the product groups, because they saw, okay, we are thinking about that, so they wanted to get our feedback, but they maybe also came back with, hey, did you consider that? Did you check that out? Or even on our videos here on the channel, we have discussions starting, especially on the installation series from Bernard, that said, yeah, why did you do that specific way? I tried it the other way around, and it also worked. So you can go into conversation also on other communities, like the Sven's community on LinkedIn, or but I just think it's the IDR communities, the Q&As. Just go out there, share what you know, ask your questions. You're not the first person trying that.
Yep.
So you can go into conversation, and really the best thing is if you share, you get a lot of things back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So there's 2 points of this. Like the one point I would say is like if you share something, like for me at least, like I sometimes make notes, right, how something works. But if you share that publicly, you probably want to add some more background to it and understand a little bit deeper than just what you made some notes. So for me, it's always great to go even a step further and to understand how this works. And because then when I write about it or do a video on it, I need to really like know what's going on and how it works and things like that. So that helps me a lot. And I always, it's always funny when you I love my blog as kind of like also as a notebook, right? I sometimes I'm like, oh, I did this like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Can't remember how I did it, but I know I wrote about it. So I go to my blog, I copy the commands, and I know like how this works. And because because you write it for someone else, the quality of the documentation is like, or the things you write is also way better than if I just have some random notes. I'm not taking good notes for myself. Like if I write it for myself, usually it's not enough to figure out 2 years later what I thought about it. So when I write it for someone else, the quality is better. And it's also funny when you find something online. If you did not even remember that I did this 5 years ago, but I find my own stuff and I'm like, okay, great. That's nice. The other part is like, as you said, like the talking, right? Being part of the community, meeting people. It's always great to have other people's thoughts on certain topics, and also helps you to understand things much more quickly. Because when you talk, you learn. Like I learn so much from other people that like even by the questions that they are asking, right? Like sometimes you ask them questions and they give you the answer. That's great. That's what you want. But sometimes also it's good to like, if people ask you a question and you want to provide them an answer, you need to probably think more about the answer. And sometimes you get questions about things you haven't even thought about, right? Like I don't have an example right now in my head, but like I get so many questions and I'm like, okay, there's two things. Like it happens a lot when you create content, right? There's like, okay, well, I did not explain this well enough. Maybe I knew it. Or the second one, oh, I did not even think about it. That's interesting. Like I did not think that you could use the product or the service in that way. But that's actually a very interesting question. So
that's how
this is always
that's
great.
how SharePoint was created. In the first place, it was just planned to show websites, and someone thought, okay, I could upload files and use it to share files. So that's how SharePoint more or less started, as a platform for OneDrive, for OneDrive, or just as a collaboration platform. Because someone had a different thought on the product, and as you said, it's sometimes you have a different thought, a different use case, or even you need to learn how to ask the correct question. As I said, there's no dumb question or anything. It's just not the correct question asked.
Yeah, or maybe yeah. I mean, asking questions, well, answering and asking questions is not a easy thing, right? Like you in both phases need to think about certain things. But to be honest, I always recommend don't be afraid. Like I ask so many stupid questions in my life, and I will keep doing that. Not because like I think one thing I really realized when I joined Microsoft, when I looked at our executive level, like really like I have some very good examples up there. One thing they do is just ask questions, and they're not afraid of like. And that's the great part. As once you realize that, like you get this ultimate power thing, right? Once you're not afraid that other people think you're stupid or you don't know your stuff, then you really can ask all the questions and you get all the answers and so much info. You learn so much quicker than anyone else, right? If you're afraid of asking the question because of what other people think, then that's a waste of your time and opportunity, right? Like I have so many times, like I mean, I'm sure I did this before. Like you sit in a meeting room, people are talking about something, you don't understand what they are talking about in one point in time, like, and then instead of just going and ask blunt out, like, hey, look, I don't understand. Can you explain it to me? Like I go afterwards, I go read about it and try to figure out what it was. Now, what I realized that oftentimes is like, okay, then you talk to others and like, oh, I also did not understand what they were talking about. And then you realize like half of the room did not understand what's going on. And so with that question, you actually make things better. But this is like in general, like this is in online forums, this is in conversations, in meetings, wherever. Ask your questions because we have all so much to do. And sometimes it's also like, again, for like the person who get asked the question, they might also did not think about this specific case. They maybe just like mention it, but did not like really know it. And so it's a good conversation to have and be very honest about these things. I think that makes everyone, at the end, it helps so much. I think that's also a very important thing to be there. Like, I mean, especially if you talk about on-prem cloud people and all these different things, there's so much things all of us don't know, right? And so asking these questions,
there are too many implications on technology areas. There's too much you need to learn. So you can no longer focus, let's say, on networking, and the other guy is focused on storage, and there's only the IP connecting us. It's now, okay, I'm host. I have Azure State CI. I need to understand Arc. I need to know what I need to what I provide for the Kubernetes guys, what I need to provide for the AVD guys, because they have specific requirements. So I need to at least understand what they want to tell me. I
Yeah.
do not need to deeply know what they do, but I need to understand, okay,
Yeah.
where are my connection points? What's the reason why they want to request that?
Yeah, I think that is like the great point. That's what I usually like. The first thing I tell people in a cloud learning conversation is kind of like how it's different from in the past. Like
There's
it's
no
really,
silo any longer.
yeah, there's not so much silo anymore. I mean, still, like as you said, there's still like you're going to be an expert or in one or two topics, but what you need to do is you still need to understand the whole like thing. You need, well, not like in every detail, but you need to understand how these things are connected, right? Together, how these are working together. How is this general? You cannot just say, okay, well, I create now the virtual network. Now it's your problem from now on, whatever you do in it, right? That's not really how it works. There is like certain things you need to understand is like, okay, what is going to be deployed in this? Do we need some specific access? What specific protection do we need? And then you start like you thinking about more a application and service oriented approach instead of like having more an infrastructure thinking siloed approach where you think, okay, I own a specific part of the platform and I don't care about the other things. It's more about I now help create like let this application or workload run, and that application needs storage, needs networking, needs compute, needs this and that. And how does that basically fit into this picture, and what like how does it work into in our environment? I think that is also like something where it needs to make click. And I to be honest, like we always have these, and I when we talk about, I mean, we started the conversation in the same thing, right? We have this mantra of like, okay, we have these on-prem people, they're very old school, and then we have this new cloud. It's not necessarily like that. It's not like I have like some really great examples of people. They just do what they need to do to make things work, right? Like they learn, they go out. Doesn't matter if they worked on-prem or work in the cloud. They come from both sides. They just go and figure it out. And so that is the way you need to think about things. I believe is like, hey, and I said that before, right? Figuring it out. How do I figure this out? How do I make this work? That is a very important part. Is to like, I'm not afraid of asking and learning new stuff. That's
and just to close our conversation, it's one thing I always tell to my team or to my mentees is the growth zone is behind your comfort zone. And if you want to improve yourself, just go out of your comfort zone and learn how to grow. And the thing which makes you most uncomfortable is the thing which will let you grow the most.
Yep. And also, I mean, it pushes you like, I mean, I don't know if it's for everyone, but for me, it's like it also makes the most fun at the end. And I'm speaking about like think about for me, thinking back, being on camera, writing blogs, doing speeches, those things are definitely all out of my comfort zone. Because like as soon as you put yourself out there, right, you think about, okay, you can get criticism and everything and all that. But to be honest, like, so you invest a lot, and as you said, that's also where you learned a lot because you're gonna rethink things. But then also to me, like after I did my presentation, after I see a video is going well or a blog, people are like commenting on the blog, like even if it's just one comment saying, "Oh, this really helped me."
Yeah.
This is really like makes you, at least for me, makes me so excited, right? This is like if people tell me like this, like I think I wrote like one example is I wrote a blog post about like how to put Windows on a USB stick, or I don't know, one was like there was an IIS error back in the days, and I get a comment on, oh, I had the same problem. This fixes my problem. Thank you very much. Great. This is
the other way around. Even if you get criticized, it's like I had the discussion with the kindergarten teacher of my son. It's like, yeah, we are not allowed to criticize it. It's not criticism. It's room to grow. It's room where we can help him to improve. It's not a criticism. It's really where we can help him to improve. And it's also every comment we have here on the channel or on my blogs or so, which is giving room or explaining room for improvement is worth, because it's an opportunity to learn.
Yep, absolutely. It's not like there's obviously criticism where people are just frustrated with things, right? And that you need to ignore. But you also need to figure out, like, okay, there's actually a good point of like that. Why did I do this? Why did I like explain it that way? Why would someone do this? Like someone says this is not like how you, and so that's good. Like think about it, and it's not a problem. Like you need to be in a. The first reaction, obviously, I think this is normal for everyone, is like, okay, well, you're going to be, oh, no, I get criticized. Oh, that's not good. Oh, no, this is not. But then you wait 5 minutes, you rethink, and you go like, oh, yeah, there's maybe a point to this. Okay, I'm going to deal with this and talk. I guess it's funny. I just like recently did post a blog post about how you install Kubernetes on Windows Server, I think, or was it Windows? I cannot remember. Doesn't matter.
I think it was Windows Server. I've read that one.
And I just saw that someone on LinkedIn posted, "Please don't do that." like as a comment, and I was like,
but I just had to laugh. Mike or?
Huh? I don't know who. I don't know. I cannot remember who it was. I don't know who someone. I don't think it's someone I knew. But it's like, please don't do that. Not in a funny way. I think the person meant it. Like, don't install Kubernetes on Windows. And then like, and I was like, I really found immediately. I found it funny because like, there's like everyone is entitled to opinions, right? And I think there's different ways. But it was funny, and I was like. On the other hand, I was then also thinking, okay, maybe I need to do a better explanation. Why would you do that, right? Not just like sometimes I explain things how you do something, but maybe I also need to like sometimes add a bit of a part of why you would do that, because there are definitely good reasons why you want to do that.
That's why Bernard and I have these split in the channel, and he explains how to do things, and I more on why to do things.
Yeah.
To recover that, why should I use or why should I go with certain backup plan, or why should I go for automation of SDN or anything like that? Not only the how to do it.
Yep, I think there's like room for both, right? You have people, they already know why they want to do something. They just want to try, like, okay, how do I do this, right? Yep. They just are interested about that. But then you have like the other side. You have people, okay, they see, okay, you write about this, and then they think like, well, don't do that. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then when you would actually have time to explain it, then they figure out, oh, okay, that's actually a good point to do this. So having this combination, I think, is great. Absolutely.
Yep. Okay, then we already talked a lot. Let's close it. That conversation with, you need to learn. Even hybrid cloud, even if it looks a bit more like on-prem, because there's so many changes coming, and it really helps to understand both worlds, not only for a career, but also for your daily work or daily life here within those connected worlds. And it's really an opportunity to grow, and you cannot stick within your basement with the dusty servers for any longer within those rapidly evolving technology world.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I believe some people maybe could, but most people probably can't. And also, even if you could, I'm not sure if that's what you want, right? To be honest, it's like, I don't know. I always get excited to work with something new. Not necessarily like I mean, there was also a frustrating part if something is so new that it doesn't work. But
it does not work in the expected way, so it needs to be improved on the other.
but the moment I realize how things are like getting easier now in some cases and like getting better, especially by combining these two worlds, that is where I see like getting really excited, like thinking, okay, why would I still do this the old way, right? Like if I can now do it in a super easy way, in a hybrid way, And so that's the part where I get excited about.
Perfect. Then with that, thank you so much, Thomas, for being with me. Hopefully I can get you back on camera with another topic. And for all the others, thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. Leave us comments, subscribe to the channel. I will also put Thomas' blog, YouTube channel, LinkedIn beneath. I know most of you already have subscribed, but yep, also take a look on Thomas' resources, especially the learning guides. So I really enjoy your learning guides. And yep, that's all for today, I would say.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Flo.
Thank you. Bye.